Hey, this is Mr. Coker with Foundations of Algebra Lesson 8.1, Finding Slope from a Graph. You can find slope in many ways, including looking at an equation and also having 2 points. And I'll show you both of those in future videos. In this video, I only want to talk about when you have a line on a graph. You have a graph, and how do you determine slope from that? The first thing you want to do is determine what type of slope it is, positive or negative, and also we have these 2 special cases that I'll mention next. Most of them are going to either be positive or negative. So if we have let's say that this fella here, Swamberson, he's walking left to right, he comes through the line, and now he goes up. What type of slope goes up? Positive. Is it positive? He agrees. Well, his bat fell. But that's okay. It's detachable. So now he keeps going to the next line. Next line goes downhill. If he goes downhill, the slope will be negative. Is that correct? He says yes. Now, the next line, he gets to a wall. He gets to something he can't pass. Well, if he can't pass it, what's the slope? Well, the slope now is undefined. That's what it's called. And the reason is, we can explain this when we do slope with 2 points. I'll explain this. But if we have also as an equation, I'll explain both of those. I'll explain it when we get to those in future videos. But undefined means it's up and down. If you're walking, you just can't pass. It's the end of your trip. But because we have one more to talk about, we'll assume he did pass. And he got to this one. Well, if you look at this one, it's just a straight line left and right. There's no steepness. Slope is talking about the steepness of a line. There's no steepness. It's flat. Swamberson can walk easily on this. So that's a slope of 0. There's 0 slope. So these are the 4 types of slope that you're generally going to see. Positive, meaning you go uphill. Negative, you go downhill. Undefined is up and down. And 0 is left to right. Again, future videos when I go through the linear equation, right now it's an equation, you'll see what these look like as equations. Okay. Finding the actual slope. Now, some teachers don't like this these days, this saying, but I always learned it as rise over run. I think most people do. Rise refers to how far you go up and down, and run refers to left and right. Pretty easy to remember, which is the reason I like it. So, it's also known as the change in y over the change in x, but that's a little clunky compared to rise over run. So, the first one, what we're going to look for here, we're going to look for 2 points on the graph. And we're going to count how far you go up. That's the rise, and how far you go over, and that's the run. So in this example, we go up 1. So if you go from this point to this point, you can see that we're traveling up 1 unit, and we're traveling over 1 unit. Also, first thing we should do, it's positive. Keep in mind, it's a positive slope. Then we go up 1 and we go over 1. So we have 1 over 1. Now 1 over 1 can be simplified. You always want to simplify your fractions. 1 over 1, well, what's 1 divided by 1? 1. So our slope is 1. And by the way, I put m. You know, when I go over linear equations, I'll use m a lot. M is the variable in the linear equation that represents slope. So that's why it says m. But the slope is 1. Up 1, over 1. 1 over 1, simplify that, do 1. Next, second one we have, first thing we want to look at is what type of slope is it? It's negative. Look at the line. It's a negative slope, so we're going to have, I'm going to start with the negative sign because I know that whatever we get is negative. I'm also going to make 2 points. I'm going to plot 2 points so that I can count easier. The reason I like to start with just positive or negative is I like to just count up and down, over, left and right, and not worry about direction. It's easier and faster. It prevents mistakes. So I'm going to look how far we go up. 1, 2, 3. Notice, to get from this point to this point, we move up 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units. So on top of the fraction, I'm putting a 3. Negative 3 over something. Now we're going to count the run. We're going to go left and right. I'm going to go over 1 unit and over 2 units. And I'm here. So negative 3 over 2. M equals negative 3 over 2. That's it. 3 over 2 cannot be simplified. Now you might look at it and say, well, you could call that negative 1.5 or negative 1.5. When we're dealing with slopes, you can always keep it as an improper fraction. You just want your fraction to be simplified. So negative 3 over 2 is just fine. Don't turn it into a decimal. Don't turn it into a mixed fraction. This is the simplified answer. Next we have undefined. I am going to go through these. So undefined, I could take 2 points on the graph. So I guess I am going to show you why this is undefined. Rise over run. How far do I go up? 1 unit. By the way, is it positive or negative? It's neither, so I'm not going to put negative sign. And then I'm going to say, how far do I go over? It's a trick question because I don't go over. I go over 0 units. Some of you might say, I see why it's undefined. But if you don't, what happens if I do 1 divided by 0? Well, if you don't know, put it in your calculator, because a calculator will get angry at you and give you an error. Because you can't divide by 0. That's why it's undefined. You can't do the math on it. Finally, slope of 0. I'll put 1 point here. It doesn't matter where I put the second point, but I'll put it here. So my rise, how far do I go up and down from this point to